Hello dudes, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Duty's Daggers. I'm Kevin, and we have I think a good discussion topic today. We're talking about button locks. You see we have a few on the table here, some of the more popular ones that have come out recently. And I think a lot of people are probably wondering, which is the best out of these? We have 4 CJRB models, and we have 1 Civivi model. So let's get into it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Look down there and make sure that you are subscribed. And follow me on Instagram too, duties_daggers. So I'm going to move this out of the way so we have more space here. So last year was really the beginning of the button lock craze, and it's continued on into 2023 here. And I gotta say, these companies have really upped their game in this new year with these new releases. All of these here on the table have better feeling action than any of the previous button locks I've tried from last year. Hands down. Now, I've been kind of in this button lock craze since the beginning. I bought the first kind of budget button lock. It was the Civivi Qubit. And that was really kind of, to me, was what started off the whole button lock craze. That was really the first affordable button lock that people could get, aside from the Malibu. Before that, the Malibu was really king. And it was kind of one of the only button locks out there. Not the only, but the one most popular one for sure. And the best one. This is still the best button lock I have tried. Still, even after all these. But I gotta say, they're starting to give the Malibu a run for its money. They're getting really close. Most of it has to do with the action, and specifically the detent feeling. Now, none of these have traditional detent balls. They have plunge locks. So it's a little more difficult to get a crisp breakaway when you don't have a detent ball in there. But ProTech figured out how to do that back in the day, whenever this was released. I don't know when it was, years ago. And these other companies have kind of taken a little bit longer to catch up. And they're still not quite there, but they are very close. So ProTech figured it out. Whatever they're doing in there, however this plunge lock interacts with the tang of the blade, they figured out how to get a really strong kind of resistance that you have to overcome to get the blade to flip out. This is still the strongest detent of all these on the table. It's really amazing. But they're getting really close, really close. So I tried the Civivi Qubit. I tried the 4 main Civivi button locks are the Qubit, the Conspirator, the Chevalier, and the Altus. I owned all of those knives. Don't own them anymore. And the reason is, a lot of them, most of them, the Altus was okay. It was the best of all of them, but they all had kind of mushy, not great detents. So I kind of, they were fine. I liked the design of the Conspirator. That was my favorite. But the detent was just mushy. And then CJRB came out with the Pyrite. And the first time I saw this knife, I thought, yes, that is a very good looking knife. It's kind of simple, but these lines just go together so well. It's just a really good looking knife. Kind of a neutral-ish handle, choke up spot, kind of a simple drop point blade, but a good looking one. This is the White Mountain Knives exclusive Pyrite. The clips were great. The blade steel was great. This is CJRB's Artisan's AR RPM 9 blade steel. And the more I use it, the more I'm kind of impressed by it. The stuff is actually really good. It's better than I initially thought it was. Just it holds an edge. It strops back nicely. And this was the button lock where I thought, okay, now this is a lot better than the Civivis. This feels better. The button lock action is a lot smoother. The detent feeling was a lot stronger. And this was my favorite button lock for a while. And then I kind of got off the button lock train for a little while. We had the whole mishap with the early Vosteed raccoons that came out, with the whole spine whack controversy, where the early raccoons were failing very easily with the spine whack, just like that. That issue apparently has been fixed with the new ones that have come out. They apparently have fixed that issue. I haven't owned a new one, but that's what I hear. And then we had, Kaiser had a few, the Cormorant, the original, there's a bunch of those. And I tried a few. I tried the Cormorant, didn't really like it. Had kind of that mushy detent. I tried a few others. I tried the, what was that one called? Crap. It was the one with the removable thumb stud. I don't know, one of the Kaiser button locks. I've tried a few of them. They were okay, but this one was my favorite of all of them, the Pyrite. And then, recently, they came out with the Wharncliffe version of the Pyrite. Holy crap. Much preferred blade shape for me. I like me a sheep's foot and a Wharncliffe. As good looking as this drop point was, for my EDC purposes, I prefer this blade shape. So I was stoked on it. I immediately bought it. It came out in the stainless steel version first, which I have added some texture on it too. These stainless steel version ones are amazing. The only downside is they're just a little slippery. So I added some texture there. It doesn't look great, I know, but it adds some grip. And as soon as I unboxed this knife and I went to flick it, I knew that CJRB had figured something out with their button lock mechanism. They had figured something new out. They were doing something different. It was the snappiest, crispiest budget button lock I had ever experienced. It is. It's just, it almost feels like a regular detent, like a regular liner or frame lock. It really does. And I was blown away. I was like, holy crap, man, they did it. They're doing something right here. So absolutely love this knife. The stainless steel version is great. I own, this is a more recent one. This is the White Mountain Knives exclusive Pyrite Wharncliffe. I had to get it just to match my original one. But I gotta say, I like the stainless steel version better. Just because it has better sounds. This one feels almost a little muted. It's still a great knife. The detent crispiness feels the same, the breakaway. But you just don't get that nice, like, ka-ching, because it's a G10 model, so you don't get that kind of metallic sound that I love. So, great knife, just don't like the sounds as much. But I had to have a pair, so that's why I bought it. And then they came out with the Echo. CJRB came out with another one. This is a Ray Laconico design. And it's similar in some ways to the Pyrite, both stainless steel button locks, but this one had an addition of a front flipper in it. And this really elevated the knife. I'm lumping this in with the Pyrites just because it is a similar knife. Not super similar, but similar size. They do have actually the exact same blade stock thickness and measurement behind the edge. Similar size. Both have the deployment holes. So in my mind, it's a very comparable knife. And the sounds on this one is even better. I mean, gosh, this is such an amazing knife to front flip. One of my favorite budget front flippers ever, actually. Same really nice crispy detent feeling. This one, it just felt so good. I added texture on this one too, and I put some gun blue on the scales to kind of darken them up a little bit. This is a really, really great knife. Really great. I would love a premium version of this sometime. I know they've made a couple now. So I thought that was kind of... I didn't know that... I didn't think a budget button lock could get even better than that. And then Civivi came out of the woodwork with another button lock. I was hesitant at first because, like I said, my first early experiences with Civivi button locks were not great. Designs were good, but just that mushy detent. But I kept hearing good things. I really liked the design, and I think this is a really great design. I was just worried about the action, the mushiness. But I kept hearing good things, and then I saw that Brian from Transparent Knives had tested this 14C28N, and it had tested within an optimal range for the hardness. So that was very encouraging. I saw how thin the blade stock was in videos, and I thought, man, I bet that thing's going to slice good. And I decided to pull the trigger, and I got this a couple days ago. And let me tell you something. This has not left my pocket since. I decided to go with the blacked out version. There's a couple different, you can get a red or blue handled versions with a satin blade, I think, or maybe it's stonewashed or bead blast, I don't know. But I didn't like those bright colors really. I decided to go with blacked out, which I don't normally do. I decided to mix it up a little bit, go with the blacked out. Now, as soon as I unboxed this, I thumb flicked it, and wow. Civivi also figured something out here and is doing their plunge locks differently. Something is different. Because it was crispy. It was a crispy breakaway. They learned the secret too. I don't know if CJRB shared it with them or they just figured it out on their own, but I'm telling you, man, they did something. They changed something in there, and it's got to be something minor, because just looking at it, it looks the same. But it's something to do with the surface of that plunge lock and how it interfaces with the tang. Something between those two surfaces. I just did the cut test video with this knife, and it blew me away. I knew it would slice well, but until you get it in hand and start cutting with it, you don't really realize how good of a cutter this is. Now, go watch that cut test video if you want. All my cut test videos are in a big playlist. If you just go to my playlists, click on that, you'll see it. I'll try to remember to put it up in the corner here in the video, but if I don't, just type in Duty Daggers cut test Qubit, it'll come right up. This thing cuts so well. And the 14C, this edge lasted throughout the whole testing. At the end of the test, I was still cutting paper. It had dulled a little bit. It was still able to cut paper though. Ergonomically, amazing. These edges are not chamfered; they're actually rounded. This is a radius here. Neutral handle, aluminum. This is a great price too. Aluminum handles in 14C for $65. That's excellent. The tip is pointing down, so you don't have to raise your wrist up hardly at all to get to that tip. Reminds me of like a Manix blade or, some kind of Spyderco looking blade, leaf shape. See how the tip's pointing down? It's just such a good, it's an amazing utility cutter, an amazing slicer. It cut everything so well. So I'm having a hard time. I don't know. It's hard. The purpose of the video is to pick which one of these is best, right? It's really tough. Very tough. So let's talk about a few positives and a few negatives for each. Let's talk cutting performance first. My dog's whining. Do you want to go outside, buddy? You want to go out? Let me let him out. So, I'm back. Which one of these is best? We're going to talk about cutting performance first. Now, these all have very thin blade stock. But I believe the Qubit is the thinnest of them all, and let's be sure about that. The Wharncliffe Pyrite comes in at 0.1. Exactly, 0.10. Drop point Pyrite, same, 0.1. Echo, 0.1. Stainless steel Pyrite, 0.1. Civivi Qubit, 0.09. So it is thinner. It's thinner than all these. But they're all really nice and thin. So this is going to slice just a little bit better. I mean, that's not a huge difference, but it will make a little bit of a difference. Now let's check out thicknesses behind the edge. I'm just going to take one measurement right in the middle here, because that's kind of usually where you're doing your slicing at. 14 thousandths on the Echo. Stainless steel pyrite. This one I have laid back the edge a little bit. We're at 20 thousandths. Drop point G10 pyrite. Uh, 17 thousandths. G10 Wharncliffe pyrite. 17 thousandths. What was the Echo again? It's about 16 thousandths. 15. Yeah, 15 thousandths. Now I already know the Qubit's going to be thinner than those. Let's see. Come on. $14 thousandths. Well, hang on. Yeah, 14 thousandths. Okay, so yeah. Thinner on the blade stock, thinner behind the edge. So this is going to slice better. Cutting edge. This I believe has the least amount of cutting edge. Just barely a little bit less than the Wharncliffe pyrite. Drop point pyrite. Just a little bit less than the drop point pyrite. A little bit less than the Echo. Actually, a lot less. Well, yeah, more or less than the Echo than the others. So there's that. That's going to affect, your slicing if you're cutting a wider strap. But in general, the Qubit here is going to slice and cut better than all of these. Now, which has the lowest tip? If we line up the knives here, we can see. Looks like the Echo has a little bit of a lower tip, but not much. And it is a sheep's foot blade. Wharncliffe pyrite. Very close. Pyrite is slightly lower. And then obviously the drop point pyrite. Qubit's going to be lower of a tip than that. So for utility cutting, yeah, they might be pretty similar. We'd have to measure the thickness behind the edge at the tip, which I believe the Qubit is thinner. It is than all of these. I gotta say, this is probably the best utility cutter. If just judging by the cut test videos that I did, this utility cut the best. But these were all cut very, very good. But this was just a little bit better. Ergonomics. It's already going to go to the pyrite. These are all nice neutral handles, but the edges, this is the most rounded off edges of them all, the Qubit. I'm not a massive fan of the ergos on the Echo. Right back here, it's great. Really, really good. But if you want to choke up here, which I like to do, it feels a little odd having the handle so thin right here and so thick right here. It just feels a little odd. I feel like I don't have as much control over the edge when I'm choked up right here. But like I said, back here, very, very comfortable. The pyrites, nice and comfortable. I mean, none of these have hot spots. But, nice and comfortable. Choked up and choked back. No hot spots. These G10 ones are the same. I believe they're about the same thickness. Well, the G10 one might be a little bit wider. Yeah, it does fill out your hand slightly better. But the Qubit, man, these rounded off edges just melts into your hand, man. Don't feel the clip on any of them. Now, the choke up spots, none of these are actually very roomy. Pretty similar on the Qubit and the pyrites. The pyrites might have actually a little bit more of a roomy choil. Let's check the Wharncliffe pyrite. Yeah, it looks like they have a little bit more of a roomy choil. Little bit. None of them are super roomy though. I would really only choke up, I think, on the Qubit or any of these when I'm cutting cardboard, because when you're slicing through the cardboard, it can sometimes slide into the choil and it'll stop your cut. It'll snag in there. So I like to put my finger up there to block that off. If the cardboard slides down here, it just glides off your finger and it doesn't get caught. So I do that on all of these. The worst choke up spot probably is the Echo, because we have this flat spot, and like I said, it feels weird having this so thin up here. Cutting performance, gotta go to the Qubit. Ergonomics, gotta go to the Qubit. You're kind of seeing where this is going, and it's weird for me to say, because I really didn't think this would be the case, but it's just true. Let's talk about action. It's hard to kind of gauge the snappiness of the detents here, especially because we have different deployment methods. This is thumb studs, and most of these other are deployment holes. But if we look at both of these thumb stud deployers, the Pyrite and the Qubit has it beat on action. It just has it beat. It's more snappy. I don't know if you can tell. Probably not. The Qubit has it beat. It just does. Anyone would agree with me. Now, we kind of have to stop there. I mean, I could kind of roughly gauge it. It's hard, though. I mean, it's a different deployment method. You know, reverse flick versus thumb studs. But they're very, very similar. I think they're all about the same. Honestly, I think they're all about the same. But as far as thumb stud deployers, the Pyrite wins over, or sorry, the Qubit wins over the Pyrite. As far as just overall kind of snappiness of the detent, they're all very, very good. Smoothness of, the smoothness of the button and the blade falling. We have very, very free swinging blades on all of these. Yeah, they're all really, really smooth. This one's probably the least smooth, I think, because it just has to break in. Or maybe there's some gunk in the pivot. But it's brand new, so it might need to break in. I might take it apart and clean it out a little bit. But very, very, very free swinging blades. So they're all about the same on that front. What else is there? Cutting performance, ergonomics, action, materials. AR RPM 9 versus 14C. I honestly probably would prefer the AR RPM 9. I'm really impressed with these knives. But, I was impressed at how well this held an edge too. As far as 14C goes, this seems like some very well done stuff. It's hard. They're similar. It seems like they behave pretty similar, and I'm not an expert. It's just, I don't know. It's not an obvious choice either way, but I think I'm leaning towards the AR RPM 9. Sharpening choils, they all have really nice ones, which is so freaking good to see, man. I'm so happy. CJRB, they did some really good sharpening choils. This one, the Echo, probably has the least amount of life in the blade. You can see it's starting to get thick right about here. And our edge termination is here. So that's probably it's still okay. It's definitely okay. But this is probably the least amount of sharpening life, least amount of sharpening life in the Echo. All of these, though, really nice. Very, very nice. The Qubit, too. The Qubit, you can see they have a really kind of gradual slope up to the full thickness there. But they still put the edge termination way up here. And here's where it starts to get thick, back here. So you have from here to here. Perfect. So that's great. Pocket clips, all pretty much the same. I mean, very, very similar pocket clips. I do like how Civivi's kind of flattens off here at the very end, whereas CJRB kind of swoops up and ends in a little bit of a point. But still, I don't feel the clips when I'm gripping the knife, so I guess it doesn't really matter. However, Civivi did inset their clip into the aluminum, so there's that. That's a plus. All of these are just sitting on top of the scale material. That's great. They are all reversible. Yep, they're all reversible for lefties. Civivi has, you know, a spot milled out for the lefty clip. No filler tab, which is kind of weird. No filler tab on this side, but whatever. I don't care. It doesn't hurt the ergos or anything like that. It's just a looks thing, so that's fine. Now, aesthetics. Some people don't like this hook thing when it's closed. Me, I don't care. I only care about knives, how they look when they're open, really. I don't really care how it looks when it's closed. It doesn't bother me at all. I just need it to look good. I don't need it to look good, but, you know, I like it to look good. But the most important thing is the ergos, you know, and this doesn't affect the ergos or anything, so I don't care. It's fine. Aesthetically, I would say the best looking of all of these probably is either the Wharncliffe Pyrite or the Qubit. I think these are, well, I don't know. The drop point Pyrite looks amazing too, though. I think the least aesthetically pleasing is the Echo. Not a huge fan of the skinny area like I've been talking about. I like a little bit less belly in my sheep's foot blades. But still, I mean, it's a good looking knife. I bought it. The most fidgety is the Echo. So, while maybe it doesn't aesthetically look as good, it's the most fidgety for sure out of all these. Just with the added deployment method, you know, it's just really, really, really addictively fun. The best sounds. It has the best sounds out of all these as well. So that kind of covers it. I feel like that's probably enough information for anybody to make up their mind on these guys. You can either make up your mind and get one, or you can get 4 or 5, 6, however many you want. But hopefully this will kind of give you a good baseline and to, you know, kind of help you make your decision. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments. You know, if I had to only pick one of these to keep, I would have to think more about it. It's so hard, man. You know, like I said, as far as like ergos and cutting, the Qubit wins, man. It honestly does. And I did not think I would say that. But once I got this in hand and cut with it, it's just freaking good, man. It's just really good. The action is amazing. So snappy. Reverse flick, excellent. Oh, aesthetically, I love it. It's tough. You know, like I said, for fidgetiness, Echo. All the way, baby. Snappy, fun. The front flipper is great. Amazing clicky, clacky sounds. So, I'm not choosing a definitive winner, but it depends on what you value in a knife. If you're looking for cutting, performance, and ergos, Qubit. There you go, folks. Please like the video before you head out. I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I love you guys very much. And I'll see you next time. Adios.